Welcome to the Tech Frends podcast, where we discuss the latest manufacturing, technology, research, and news. Today's episode is sponsored by IMTS Plus, powered by AMT. I'm Ramia, Lloyd, producer, and I'm here with...
I'm Elissa Davis, the digital community specialist.
Stephen Lamarca, AMT's best technology analyst for 8 years in a row now.
I am Benjamin Moses, director of technology. I can't top that, see? That's
that was good intro.
AMT's #1 technology analyst for 8 years straight.
You've got JD's Power Award for technology.
for initial reliability. That's like my favorite JD Power Award. Initial reliability. Everything's reliable when it's brand new.
That's a good segue because we got some beef with maintenance.
Let's talk about maintenance. My favorite topic. What were we talking about?
Zinger.
Okay, so I recently did my brakes, and I'm very excited about it, and I can't stop talking about it. But I actually can't stop talking about it because some more LinkedIn posts have been circulating about metal additive, metal 3D printing, and of course hot cars, and the new hypercar company, which I don't think has delivered a single car yet, Zinger. Founded by some rich dude with actual talent for an eye for quality manufacturing and advanced technologies, has this amazing hypercar that I assume he was going to be making soon. But the entire subframes, the chassis, the suspension linkages, is all made using generative AI and metal additive. So it's a lot of organic shapes, but one of the most drool worthy parts on this car is the metal 3D printed monoblock brake caliper that's integrated with the suspension knuckle.
I like the way those 3D printed calipers, because a couple other brands have been doing it.
Yeah,
but they just look fascinating. The way the material that's saved, it looks really good.
It's gorgeous, but initially, from somebody that appreciates Swiss watches,
right.
I really like seeing integrated parts, or anybody that works in a kitchen or likes cooking knows that kitchen gadgets that only do one thing belong in the trash can. Every tool that you have in the kitchen needs to be multi-role.
Sure.
So be able to do a jack of all trades, but also be excellent at all of them. Anyway, I really like this part because it simplifies by making something more complex, and the organic shapes from generative AI that can be manufactured using 3D printing are absolutely gorgeous. It's a work of art. But having done my brakes recently, having looked over the shoulder of my technician, who is a close friend of mine, do all of the work and get their hands dirty for me, I noticed that there's a major flaw with these brake calipers and the suspension knuckle. The suspension knuckle is at the end of the linkage, so it's almost at the wheel. It holds the caliper, the hub, and axle assembly, and which the wheel is bolted to, but the rotor goes around the hub, and the hub goes through, connects to the axle, which goes through the knuckle of the suspension. Anyway, the knuckle and the caliper are one piece on this car, and it's gorgeous. I can't stop saying it. But the big fundamental flaw is you have to take apart the entire suspension and maybe even subframe to change the rotors, which is a general maintenance thing. It's not all the time. It's not like changing your oil, but
a car like that,
I'm sure the Zinger official response would be, oh well, they're carbon ceramic brakes, and when carbon ceramic brakes came out, they were advertised as being they never fade,
right,
and they will last the lifetime of the car. Ask any owner of a luxury or high-end performance car with the carbon ceramic brake option, they all tell you, they're not supposed to, but they warp really easily, and when they warp, you need to buy new $7,000 rotors per corner of your car.
Yep.
So to add the insult to injury of a $7,000 rotor replacement per corner, what is that? $28,000 to replace your rotors.
Yep.
the entire suspension now needs to be disassembled
Right.
to get this knuckle caliper off of the car and remove the hub and axle assembly so the rotor will slide out.
That's
and
fun.
actually, I commented on it, and somebody was like, yeah, you've got a good eye. But if you're buying a multi-million-dollar hypercar,
That's the least
you know,
But-
you're not doing a brake job yourself.
But I do see a trend in, the little maintenance that I have been doing, and plus my cars are significantly older. But I do see a trend in packaging sensors into scenarios where they're not quite consumables, but they're high wear areas. And I do see, I tried to change the spark plugs in one of my cars the other day, and it was fine, but it is layers and layers of stuff to get to just the spark plug. I was like, it's almost impossible nowadays to do some of the basic maintenance by yourself.
This car, the Singer concept, is this beautiful example of how we're just at the tip of the iceberg. We're just at the beginning of the optimization for design for additive manufacturing.
Right.
But we are in the worst possible position ever in the history of humankind in the design for maintenance.
And one of the other scenarios that a lot of people are running across is when you're behind a truck and it says stay back 200 feet, it's not their fault that if your windshield's cracked, which is really annoying. But everyone's going to have a windshield cracked in their life. Now, if you've got a car that has some level of autonomy, means not only you got to get the windshield replaced, but now you got to get your sensors calibrated and make sure that everything else along the line works. So I think you've got something about Volvo and
2016. This bothered a lot of gearheads because Volvo came out with their beautifully designed and new design theme, their design language. And they came out with their new headlight, and they showed off this gorgeous headlight. They called it the Thor's hammer because it actually kind of looks like a T on its side with the LEDs and everything. But what appalled everybody, aside from its beauty, being a work of art, it actually costs as much as a work of art. It's a $1,400 headlight, which is it's still painful today, but everybody's used to that with modern cars.
Right.
But it was so painful at the time, and it was so offensive at the time, rather, because this was the first headlight of many to come by all manufacturers. It was the first headlight that was a $1,400 headlight. And you'd think if you get it in a little fender bender and you break a headlight, it's a couple $100 for a new headlight assembly. And most of the stuff you'll be able to scavenge, like the bulb, all the bulbs and the harness for all of the bulbs. But now it's a module.
Right.
But to get up to $1,400 in 2016, the government regulated that there needs to be more electronic driver aids to improve safety of modern vehicles, which included lane keep assist and blind spot monitoring for cars over a certain weight limit.
Right.
Which is every car, because every car is heavy, as super heavy today because engines are getting more powerful, and Ben and I can go on forever. When you increase power, the weight increases exponentially because now everything needs to be durable enough to withstand that power, to be able to contain that power and put it on the ground. But anyway, going back to the blind spot monitoring and lane keep assist integrated into this headlight module, that's all military grade radar technology that they're putting in a consumer headlight. Yeah, it's going to be $1,400, and that's why we're used to it today.
Yep.
It's still painful, but this was the first one.
And that's an interesting design choice back to the maintenance, right? So windshield headlights, they're not quite consumable, but they're something that could be damaged as the life of the car. And like you said, previous headlights, you replace like a certain module, but you're able to extract a lot of things. Now that we've gone to LED-based lights.
LEDs are awesome.
And packaged with other sensors, that's immediately, the whole unit has to be replaced, which could be easier.
Yeah.
But now the cost of that has significantly skyrocketed. So, and once you have it installed, then you got to recalibrate all the sensors again. So it's a mixed, interesting trend.
Your headlights need to be aligned today.
Right? Yeah, it's an interesting progression of now we're adding more technology to solve problems like the lane keep assist and driver's aid to lane detection. So when you're trying to change lanes and it tells you there's a car. They're great,
Yeah.
but at the cost of if I gotta change a headlight, I may have to take a loan.
I will say, if you've got the fancy windshields, don't move to Colorado.
Oh my God, the windshields.
Because in Colorado, so instead of salt, they use sand.
Yeah.
When it snows. And so what happens is the little tiny grains of sand get kicked up, behind a truck, behind a car, and sometimes you'll be falling behind a truck that has the sand in it, and it also hits your windshield. And so my parents, they lived in Colorado, and they got a crack in their windshield, and it had all the fancy sensors on it, and they couldn't get it changed for a year because it was so expensive.
Yep.
And, my mom works in insurance. So she's like, we're not filing a claim for this. Like, we're not. She's like, we're going to pay out of pocket for this. We're not filing a claim for it. So, highly recommend don't move to Colorado if you've got the fancy stuff on your windshield because it will cost you an arm and a leg.
I experienced a similar thing when I was living in Vermont in college. First off, those trucks, those salting and sand trucks, fling that stuff out there. It is moving. It's not just like, oh, okay, it's not like one of those like lawn care things made by Scott that you picked up at Home Depot that you just crank to spread fertilizer on your lawn. Like it is shooting that stuff out. And in Vermont, most of the winter car accidents, that happened on the interstates in the winter were people merging, going way faster than they should because they were trying to get on the highway ahead of those vehicles.
Yep. That's rough. On something on a little warmer note, Elissa, you mentioned something about NASA and bees.
Yes.
The bees.
So I picked up a book at Costco, which I was not expecting to find this book at Costco, but it's called NASA's Bees. And the subtitle is like the complete history of robotics and AI, I think.
Whoa!
Or automation and AI, something like that.
Yep.
And I looked at the back of it and I had like what some of the stuff it talks about. And I saw nothing about NASA's bees, but the book is called NASA's Bees. So I'm assuming they're just like, hey, we don't need to put it on the back because like it's the title.
Right.
It's messed up. Is this an inside joke that we're on the outside of?
I don't know. I'll let you know when I finish the book.
Or NASA's clickbait.
I love bees. Are they sending bees to space?
Everyone in NASA is a part of the beehive.
They probably use bees for some sort of experimentation that I'll find out once I read the book. But how it's tied into like AI and robotics would be interesting. So
yeah, definitely want to hear more about that.
Yeah, once I get into it and start reading it, I'll let you know what it says about NASA's bees.
Awesome.
Because as of right now, it is just clickbait. So we'll see.
Although at one episode later on, we should get into how good some of the odd things at Costco are.
Oh yeah,
I bought some pants the other day. I'm like,
days.
oh my God, why am I not shopping at Costco more often?
Massage
Love
chairs.
Costco.
They have a Star Wars pinball machine there right now.
Exactly.
It's $700, but my mom's probably going to buy it for my brother for Christmas. So
$1.50 hot dog and drink.
yep.
Yeah.
Fire.
They have not changed the price of that since it opened.
And I think
They
the CEO has threatened to do physical harm to anybody that suggests so, which is amazing. I love that. I love that energy. Costco pizza, $10. It's a massive pizza. They use exactly 6 pounds of cheese. It is measured by automation. The only qualm that I have with a $10 massive pizza from Costco is that the crust is a little too doughy. But we learned last weekend, my fiance and I learned that once you bring the pizza home, you just throw it in the air fryer for like 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes. And it makes that crust nice and cracker-like. Perfect.
Which you can buy the air fryer at Costco.
Yeah.
Right? You can buy an air fryer.
That's
you
how
can
they
buy
do it. That's why it's only
toothbrushes.
$10.
Exactly.
They have like a taco platter.
Yeah. Oh my God, they're street
It's
tacos.
so good.
I don't have that.
We'll save
Their
that.
pre-made meals are basically my favorite thing.
No.
We're getting too
That's
close
how
for
I
lunch for
survive.
this, guys.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, let's save all the food talk for IMTS.
Ramia, can you tell us about today's sponsor, please?
Our sponsor today is IMTS Plus, manufacturing digital content to get you ready for IMTS and after. We host videos and articles on topics relevant to manufacturing technologies and the business of manufacturing. And it's all free. I guarantee you will find something you like. Check out season 3 of Road Tripping with Steve, where our friend Steve is doing big things in the Magic Motor City.
Thanks, Ramia.
That was a blast. That was really fun to
Thank
shoot,
you.
by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I feel like we always have a good time in Detroit.
This is why at MT Forecast, which is in Detroit this year, like the three tours that we had for as options for our attendees to go on. It was Lift, Fanic, and Feeve.
Yep.
Been to Lift and Fanic. You can see my tour on video.
Lyft talked about it while we were there.
Yay! I love them so much.
They were like, we did road tripping with Steve recently. And I was like, yeah, I know.
Dude, I love it so much when PhDs accept me. It makes me feel so good.
Steve, also, tell me about our test bed. We got some updates coming up.
Bought some new parts.
Yeah.
I still haven't installed the robot. It's sitting there in its box. The box is open so everybody can look at it and poke at it.
Right.
But still haven't installed it yet. You know, we've got a big renovation coming up in the office, so it's going to collect dust anyway. But I wanted to make sure that I ordered the accessories, the end of arm tooling. So I ordered 3 things: the gripper, the mounting plate specifically for said gripper to be attached to this version of the robot, and a cable. Mounting plate was like $100.
Yep.
The cable, which is it's a 6-inch cable,
Right.
$55. This is audiophile grade equipment here.
Yeah.
And then the gripper. I don't know if I should mention the manufacturer. It's an industrial grade
You
company.
can see the pictures once we have it posted.
But man, it was expensive.
Oh, yeah.
The gripper,
It's a good gripper,
end of
though.
arm tooling. I mean, everybody in the industry knows this, but
Right.
I feel like such a noob for being shocked by this. The gripper's almost as expensive as the robot.
Yeah.
And everybody in the industry would probably tell me, yeah, that tracks.
I mean, it's kind of like buying a firearm. Your optic is cost the...
Your scope needs to be twice the price of the rifle.
Exactly.
People don't
Elissa?
realize that. But
Yes,
I heard you found something on AI and deciphering code.
I did. There's a project going on called Project Vesuvius, and they have these scrolls that were carbonized basically after the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, thousands of years ago.
like Han Solo?
What?
He was stuck in the carbonite.
Oh, that was carbonite,
that was
not
carbonite.
carbonite. Okay, my bad.
Carbonized. I was so confused. I was
So
like,
sorry.
was Mount Vesuvius in Star Wars and I missed
I should
it?
really let people talk.
All of this is true.
So they have these scrolls, and they haven't been read in over 2,000 years. And this 21-year-old student actually was able to use AI to decipher the word. I'm gonna double check that I say this right. It's the word purple in Latin, in Old Latin, porphyrus, which is the ancient Greek word for purple. And so this was, he won $40,000 as a prize from Project Vesuvius. The first place, he's like second place. The
Wow.
first place prize has not been won yet, but they're also using a bunch of different types of software and everything to decipher different parts of the scrolls. But yeah, so he figured out that word, and then it was independently also tested separately to make sure that he didn't, fake the results. And it was proven. So he's only 21 years old. He's now $40,000 richer because he was able to find the word purple
And I think
on a scroll.
And I think a layer to that complexity is that, I think you mentioned earlier, like it's a rolled up scroll, but because it was so old and you're unable to
It will
unscroll
literally disintegrate if they try to
Exactly.
unroll it.
So they had to see through the different layers to detect, and that's why they detected
They
one
should
word
have sent
so
it to
far.
Lumafield.
That's
They have
How did they scan it?
So some places are using like CT scans because some of the scrolls have metal in the ink, so they're able to pick
Ooh.
up the letters from the metal in the ink. But this was not one of them. This
Right.
one was different, so that's
Wow.
why they couldn't use the same technology. But if you go to the Project Vesuvius website, they have like a bunch of people have won a bunch of different prizes for it, and you can see all the different because I think they're using like CAD CAM software and everything too to help like figure out what it is, and it's really really interesting. But I was just like, dang. I can imagine what I would do with $40,000 at 21 years old. Pay off my student debt, probably.
that's pretty good. That's a pretty good project. That's fine.
Yeah, but I'm like,
I wouldn't do anything smart.
I'm a little bit of a technology nerd, but before everything, I'm a major history nerd,
Yeah.
and so I thought that was like so cool because basically everything in from Mount Vesuvius was destroyed, but obviously they were
Yeah.
able to. They uncovered this city. It's like Herculaneum, I think is what it's called, in like the 1700s, and they've been like taking pieces from it since then. And apparently, it was also the home of Julius Caesar's father-in-law.
Wow.
So, so this is one of the scrolls that they've been able to decipher. The $1 million prize will go to someone who's able to decipher like 2 pages worth of continuous lettering. So,
This young man got
Yes.
$40,000 for just getting purple,
Yes.
which
Getting
is the
word
most
purple
luxurious
in
color
Old Latin. Yeah.
of the time period.
Yes.
You know, right? Is that true?
I don't know.
I know, like that's what history teacher said.
But it was
back
on
in
the
day.
Smithsonian Magazine website. That's where I found it.
That's
so,
awesome. That's incredible.
I do like the
know.
extension. One, the applicability of someone fairly early in their career and their application of it, and that's something we've been testing. Is if someone how mature technology is of basically how young can someone deploy it. So when you talk about empty Connect, we're working with undergrads at Virginia Tech to see, can you do this basically by yourself? And we've been exploring that idea, and it's fairly straightforward, and being able to apply AI at a very early stage in their career and to a very complex project. So not only are you looking at a sheet of paper to try and decipher something, but also trying to look through different layers. And I think that's where the
Yeah.
This is also
subtlety comes from.
This is also a little bit scary because isn't Mount Vesuvius getting a little spicy again too?
Probably.
Aren't they detecting
It's
some
been 2,000
seismic
years since
activity?
it erupted, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Wow.
But the scroll itself looks like a burnt log.
Yeah.
Like that's literally what it
That's
looks like.
nuts.
So
Who would have known that? Like, I guess
apparently AI.
Steve,
what up?
you got something on additive?
Oh yeah. Okay, so I saw a little thing on LinkedIn recently of an additive company.
Yep.
Additive technology company, P.O. Poly, really cute name. I actually really like that name. But what was getting so much hype on LinkedIn was that the drives to move the, I guess, extrusion head along the axes of the machine was not belt driven, and it wasn't a ball screw. It was magnets. This thing was like running on magnet rails.
Okay.
Kind of like, modern roller coaster.
Sure.
But it just looks like a regular 3D printer. They're not claiming to have any special additive technology, like strictly like the 3D printing tech. I think it's material extrusion. I think I saw filament on it. It's not vat photopolymerization. It's not laser powder bed.
Right. They're interested in the motion control of additive.
They're interested in the motion control, and I haven't seen anything like it. But it's not like I've seen everything.
No, and I think that's an interesting case because when you look at the additive head, like pure additive or 3D printing, it's a very light head, right? If you compare that to subtractive processes, the weight that the beds and ways have to sustain on those machines are significantly different in additive. That's why like seeing applications like delta arms with extrusion heads, and using magnets for motion control is fairly interesting. And I'm wondering, what the benefit of that is versus traditional ball screws or belt driven scenarios.
I am too dumb to know, but I can tell you that the pre-orders for this new magnet driven machine, things sold out.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Like they've stopped taking pre-orders.
Yeah.
Like we don't know if we can deliver these on time, so stop buying it. Let's fill the orders that we have, but thank you for your business.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
And I think I'll do a little research to see if other machine technology companies have used
Who's
maglev
the
for
company that makes the ways for like all CNC machine, like THX or something? No, that's the audio company.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
THK.
They do the yes.
They make the ways. So like they THK might be buying somebody soon. They might be buying an additive company soon. I'm just saying.
You mentioned roller coaster and like 3D printing in the same sentence. Now I can't stop thinking about when we're going to get our first 3D printed roller coaster.
And it makes sense because all of the organic shapes, of
Wouldn't
like
it?
the loop-de-loo.
And like I feel like we can create like really strong materials so like it won't break.
You know that thing's going to be like, it's going to be made by an army of yellow robots.
Speaking of robots, I've
Let's
got
hear
an
it.
article from TechCrunch on how roboticists are thinking about generative AI. So generative AI has come a long way, particularly with large language models, and Chat GTP and things like that. But how GPT?
I was about to say, dude, really?
Your face immediately.
We've been using this for the past year and a half.
I always get the letters mixed up. Whatever.
No.
And it's interesting when we look at how training models exist and how how the AI algorithms are learning to be more efficient and constantly ingesting information. There's a couple of interesting scenarios where here when they talk about, well, why is this important to manufacturing or robotics? They interviewed a couple of people and they talked about to NVIDIA and GM about the scenario, and they talk about the productivity improvements of getting from basically a starting point to a 70% working model or efficiency in the cell to significantly faster than previous tools. So being able to accelerate the task or scenarios that you need the robot to do, they talked about accelerating that process. So from time to purchasing our goods to getting the robot up and running, that time's shrinking significantly. And we've talked about that over, the return on investment on some of these tools. So I think generative AI has a lot of opportunity to talk about that or to help accelerate that. The other one that they interview is someone from MIT CSAIL. And they're doing a lot in robotics, and they're very interesting to keep an eye. I like their research videos that they produce on YouTube.
Yeah.
Super dry, but really fun to watch. So I definitely recommend checking out CSAIL's YouTube channel. But it talks about generative AI, powerful problem solving for motion planning scenarios. So when we look at warehouse robots, but even if we start applying this to additive scenarios or robots within a cell where you have some level of engagement or fluidity within a cell, being able to pathfind in those scenarios, I think helps maintain productivity. So the easiest parallel that I've seen is if you're playing video games, playing against bots, every once in a while you see a bot stuck in a corner. Like, why is that guy there? It's because a crate fell down or another person stuck in his way. So being able to have robots continually update their pathfinding within the context of safety, I think that's something that the CSAIL team kind of mentioned. And also it talks about pattern generation. So providing context for physics and the physics world, and being able to simulate that scenario. So almost the parallel of the digital twin. So being able to simulate what the machine could do before it gets to the physical world. So that's another scenario where they think generative AI could help in the simulation world or the digital twin world, where they want to see what the kinematics of the scenario and how do they program and develop the scenarios within simulation world before you get to the real world. So definitely a really interesting read from TechCrunch. And
This is the first time I've been concerned about AI.
the first time,
First time. Like I'm very pro AI.
sure,
But now I'm nervous because so going back to like when generative design was first becoming a thing,
right,
I was over in San Francisco visiting Autodesk, and one of their executives, I think an executive, described their work that they themselves were doing in generative as the power of generative design is like having the access to 100 interns at your fingertips
sure,
that can do a year's worth of work in 15 minutes.
right,
All at once. And now you take that intelligence, that capability, and you put it in a robot arm
right.
and give that robot arm 3 more robot arms and turn it into a humanoid robot.
Sure.
And now we've got robot AI interns. And now we're not going to have any humans to be real interns. And now there's going to be this huge skills gap of people with education and no experience, so they'll never get hired.
And that's an interesting conversation related to. I mean, that's a funny dream, but
I feel like that escalated so quickly.
everyone is concerned about AI taking over the world on many different layers, right? So being able to use an agent for decision making on digital, physical world too, when you connect to the robots. But I see the parallel on a lot of the use cases that we've seen that's actually productive. It's supplementing human decision making or human processes. Like when we use it in our writing that we do weekly, it's supporting our writing process. We're never taking a wholesale. A couple of weeks ago, I talked about using chat to help define qualification or inspection processes. It's supporting you. It gives you a baseline, so it helps accelerate the process.
Yeah.
It never really gives you a
It doesn't do
full
it for
solution.
you.
Yeah. There's a lot of nuances that are missing from the algorithm that's not trained in there, and that's where
I'd say it gets you to a solid 50%.
Yeah.
Gets you halfway there.
exactly.
I'm okay with robots taking all the unpaid internships.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's a
I
spicy
don't know,
topic.
man.
Yeah.
Sometimes you really need that experience, though.
You
and
do,
nobody's
but-
willing to pay for it.
But they should.
You're right. Like, okay, if expressing my concern has accomplished anything, it's that people who are afraid of AI, robotics, and automation are dumb.
Fair. On that,
Yeah.
Ramia, where can they find more info about us?
amtonline.org/resources. Like, share, subscribe.
Bye, everyone.
Bing bong.